Implicit bias is in theory the pre-reflective attribution of particular qualities by a person to a member of a group with which they do not identify. By forcing one to look at his or her or their implicit biases and deeply held stereotypes, there is hope of creating a paradigm shift in those interviewed and those viewing this project. The goal of this project is to force interview subjects and viewers to examine and confront their own implicit biases. So, my exhibit is titled Stereotypes and Implicit Bias Picturing Social and Economic Stereotypes. I have four subjects who I met at random that I interviewed and took pictures of. The point of this gallery is to test your own set of implicit biases as well, and I will have each of the subjects' interviews shown at the end of the gallery. This is subject one. I made sure to take the same photo of each subject, so as you move along in the gallery, you will see this same photo 4 times. So interestingly, I took a photo of each of the subjects' hands. I was once told that this will show a lot about a person. This is subject two. A big part of this project was that I wanted to make sure my interview subjects remained anonymous, so they'd be open and honest with me during the interviews. So no faces are shown in any of the photos. This is subject three. As you can tell, each of these subjects I have interviewed really come from very different backgrounds. This is the final subject, subject number 4. This subject was more reserved than the others I chose to interview. I found it very interesting as to who was more open to be interviewed or photographed. And this is a really up close picture of the subject's hands. Again, I find it very interesting to look at strangers' hands, especially. So these are the interviews. This first interview shown is from subject number 1. And I asked each of the interview subjects what is one word they would use to describe themselves. And subject number 1 chose to describe herself as resilient. And I really thought it was interesting how she told me about how her parents and siblings did not graduate from high school and she has a Juris Doctorate. So I think that's very interesting how she worked up to create a really prominent career for herself. So for subject number 2, he said that the word that described himself was thankful or lucky. And I really find it interesting. The last question I asked everyone was, what is one thing you want people to know about you? And this subject said that I appreciate life and I am still learning every day. So subject number 3 was very open and honest with me in the interview about how he had faced food insecurity and that his family had worked up from poverty level, and it was very interesting to hear about his experience. And a word he'd used to describe himself was diligent. So my final subject, subject number 4, had discussed with me how she had lost her job during COVID-19, and she's now working 2 jobs to pay the bills. And she was opening up to me as she does not consider herself as part of upper, middle, or poverty level class, but she's just trying to make it. And a quote she wanted me to write down is that I'll keep asking the Lord and I'll see what he says.